Hello there, Bic Benedict here. We're playing Ryse, Son of Rome on the PC on Legendary difficulty, and this is my no damage, no upgrade guide and walkthrough. We're currently on Chapter 4 of 8. It is entitled The King. So this first confrontation up here, it can be against 2 enemies or it can be against 3 enemies. And since what I'm going to show you doesn't happen often in this game, I'm going to wait out this conversation and show you that one of these enemies will separate and you only have to fight 2 of these guys down here. It's not a big deal, but I do like pointing it out just because it's atypical and it's not the most interesting thing in the world, of course, but just give him enough time, that guy that leaves, and jump down here. We're going to get a terrific bunch of slowdown over here. And I really don't know why that is. I'm just kind of stupefied. But yeah, just 2 guys down here. And you can go in the direction that one guy went underneath that fallen tree. There's a collectible over there if you want it. And if you try to seek out that guy that left, he won't be there. He despawned. But if you jump down too soon, he can come back from where he was going to go and come back under that tree and join the fight. So the next thing that we're doing over here, I think we might be introduced to the traps over here. The traps are really simple. All you need to do is just press the deflect button, and you're actually ranked for how well you press it too. I think you have to get legendary there because you're in a prompt there and you don't have any say-so about when you press the button. We have the introduction of the dual wielder over here. I like this fight, although it's really brief. But these dual wielders over here, they cannot be hit with normal attacks. So you need to be doing charged attacks, or well, let me rephrase that. They can be hit with normal attacks if those normal attacks are ripostes that come after your perfect deflect. So they hit twice and then they hit a third time, and the third time is the one that you can get the perfect deflect on and stun the enemy. And if you want to, you can go right into a heavy attack after the parry. So your riposte can be that heavy attack. And another trap coming up over here. There's actually a fork in the road over here, but you end up, I believe, fighting everybody anyway. Yeah, and then on this down here, I don't think you can get a stealth execution on the heavy, but you can on the other ones, these ones down here. Before you leave, there is a pila down here, stuck in, I think, some part of the geometry over to the left, a tree or a rock or something. But this game is, like, when I was calling it basic in the second video, I think it was, it really is, like, I think it really does need a little bit more complexity to it, because it is, like, it's almost like, it feels like you're playing rock, paper, scissors sometimes. It's just, like, incredibly streamlined into just a very simple experience. And it's I don't want to put it down in that regard, though. So my criticism of it is just the fact that it is simple, but sometimes things can be overly complex. For instance, there's this game called Lies of P that I tried to play, but I have no ability to comprehend anything about what's going on in that game. I feel like a foreigner. I have I don't know how people know how to play that game. You know, I just, and I don't play Dark Souls games anymore, but boy, that this whole experience looks so alien to me that I just have no idea. So, and I know that, you know, you can learn and watch tutorials and things like that, but I guess coming back to something like this is refreshing just because of the familiarity it has for me. But when I tried to play that game, it didn't have any instructions when you're playing about what to do and what things meant. But I don't want to criticize it too much. This has been a pretty poor year for games. So we have a dual wielder over here, and did you notice he had a couple of companions? So you really need to space yourself out over there and not let that dual wielder anywhere near you while you're fighting the others. This really is a gorgeous level too. Okay, so when you drop down here now, there's I think there's a fight of 5 enemies down here. And this game is I'm not gonna call it easy, but it's so far removed from being difficult that a challenge run like this becomes necessary, because otherwise, you know, you can heal on every enemy that you kill with the you know, the health gains. So if you take a hit, you can heal, and it's not like the enemies have a lot of HP either. They really don't. So to think that somebody, you know, would need to sweat this game out is just not true. Now, it can be stressful, and there are some pretty loathsome parts. I'm not going to deny that at all. And there's some horrendous checkpoints. But I do find the damage boost interesting, because I appreciate that you don't immediately just have your weapon start to deal more damage. You have to earn it by getting executions. So we have a plus 50 damage going for ourselves right now. And the thing is, too, it goes away. It's already gone. It goes away incredibly quickly, too. So you're really not getting that much of an extra advantage at all times. You know, it comes and goes very quickly. And anyway, crossing the river now, there's going to be a cutscene, I believe, and then there's this beautiful fort that you go into. What did you think of the last chapter, though? The last chapter was it had so many objectionable parts. Anytime that there's archers and you're trying to kill enemies with your pilas, the pilas, however you pronounce it, they just take so long to aim, and if you don't aim enough, your spear or javelin, whatever it is, it just goes wild. Because the longer you hold in the trigger, the more accurate it is. And it's also based on, well, I don't know if it has much of a bearing, the proximity of the enemies to you, but I would think if they are closer to you, it would be easier not to miss. But there's a lot of times when enemies are right next to me and I throw and they go, you know, the projectiles miss when I try to throw them. So when you come over here, pick up these pilas, and I would stay closest to this wall as possible. There's an archer down here. These archers do not deal much damage to you. When I when I do get hit by an archer, I notice that it doesn't like almost instantly kill me like the attacks of the other enemies. So they have low life, and they deal pretty sparse damage to you. But yeah, when you approach that first enemy down here, sticking to the wall will prevent you, like sticking close to the wall, excuse me, will prevent that archer from being able to get a bead on you. And then once that first enemy is killed, the first archer that is, the subsequent archer and the other enemies will drop down / spawn in. This is another part that I rue. It's very important to hit the cinder blocks that will destroy the platform on which this archer stands over here. So you want to do this. That will destroy the platform and the kill the archer. And then when you come down here, it's just one pila to kill an archer. And then hitting the incendiary barrels. I've never killed... Look at that nonsense. I've never killed enemies using the barrels, even though they were standing right next to the barrels. So close in the distance when you feel that it's proper to. If you want, you can continue aiming your pilas around the corner, but it's not necessary. And then there's going to be 2 more archers that drop down over here. And it says Roman's health on the top right. Yes, that is a concern, but as long as you don't take an excessive amount of time, you can pretty much ignore that. This is a little bit of nonsense too. I don't know how much of a risk you want to take here, but this is pretty bad. This barrel does a decent job of killing those enemies, but a lot of the other barrels just didn't do much for me. But yeah, running up that plank and avoiding those arrows, that would be pretty difficult. So I like to throw a pila from distance. And then you notice that there was another enemy who I believe comes off the turret when you approach their position back there. And then we have some more goodness over here. What kind of goodness do we have in store over here? Oh, it's not too bad. Earlier when I was talking about games that were unfamiliar to me, such as Lives of P, I just wanted to mention that could possibly be something that I enjoy at a later date. I'm just saying that I've kind of grown estranged from video games quite a bit. That's why I haven't published many videos of late. And I've been, just working hard and focusing on my... I'm building a film noir collection. I really enjoy watching films from the 40s and 50s, from the noir movement, classical period. And I just been really just using my Xbox as a Blu-ray player, and not really wanting to play games, but not really wanting to make videos, and also just not liking video games as much as I used to. And it was something I was reflecting on why that would be, because I've always enjoyed video games, and I do like sitting back, relaxing, and watching videos, but I also like to play games. Now, on this boss fight over here, Boadicea is quite easy. I think you can see how similar she is to the dual-wielding enemy we fought before. She does 3 attacks, and then she follows that up with a parryable attack. And then she also does one where she does a flurry with her swords, a jumping attack. She hits 3 times, and then she does a delayed hit that is her repertoire of moves. It's just 2 moves. And if you don't want to do parrying, I think you can permanently perma-stagger her with heavy attacks. I'm not sure if that has to be... charge attacks. If you just want to do charge attacks, I think you can get away with it on that boss fight. And over here, I'm going to have to look and see if the checkpoint comes up, because I don't remember seeing it on this fight. So if you do have any problems over here, you're going to have to face Boadicea again. I don't have any problems with the boss itself, and I don't have any problems with a female being a final boss in the game. I do have a problem, though, on the last chapter of hating having to run back to a boss and having to watch a cutscene. Now, the cutscenes are not skippable the first time you go through the campaign, but the second time you go through a campaign, they're skippable, but there's a kind of a caveat. Some of the cutscenes are masking loading, and what it is that you can skip the cutscenes, but sometimes the cutscenes have to play, anywhere from like a few seconds to 20 seconds to maybe even 30 seconds before you can get the prompt to skip them. So it's kind of unfortunate about that, but it's all part of the engine. So what I hate, that's probably one of the things that I definitely hate, having to run back over to her every single time and watch a cutscene that is not skippable, because of the fact that it's just the proper length, so that it's they probably, if it was a little bit longer, they would probably give you the option to skip it, but it's just short enough so that it's probably just loading in things. But over here we have another sequence of Pyla throwing, and I did get one of my teammates killed over here a couple times, because I do like to practice sections and learn, particularly with this one, how far up you want to push, because if you push too far up, you're going to have less travel distance for those arrows to arrive at you. So it's a matter of knowing when to release your block and then throwing the Pylas and then immediately blocking again, because enemies that are falling down and have died can still let loose their Pylas when they're in their last breaths. So I did get kind of fortunate. I had an arrow, if you review the footage, I had an arrow go into my group of men over here, but it did not take any damage off. So as you go into the cave over here, there's going to be one enemy from that group that is, I think he's leading you into an ambush, but the ambush is not going to occur quite yet. I thought he would just flee, but while that is true, he does stick around. So while he runs back a little bit and he does flee, I believe you have to take him out. And then once he's finished, you're going to take a side route to the next section, which is a little bit awkward. So when you get control of Marius, you're going to be running over here to the right through this little cave over here. And in this room over here are 2 Pylas. So you'll want to 2 Pylas. So I don't believe that you can have any Pylas at this point. So you'll be picking up these 2 Pylas in here, and then on the enemy that you can stealth execute coming up is a nearby him. There's another Pyla, so there's potentially 3 you can have. And what's going to happen is you're going to be, first of all, stealth executing this enemy up here, and then you can jump down if you want to at any point, but I would recommend killing this guy up here and then hitting the exploding barrel across the way with one of the pilas, and then that will cause a good explosion that will kill some enemies. And then you want to roll back, though. That's the important thing. Before you jump down, roll back, because enemies will be firing at you. Issue the charge command and then jump down, and then by that time you should not have anybody else firing at you. But there's so many people over here that it's hard to ascertain who's a threat at times. I mean, it's not difficult to see it visually, but enemies can kind of stack onto one another, and it can result in problems. Now, the exploding barrels over to the left over here, I've got killed on them before by throwing a pile at them from above where that enemy was that we stealth killed. So be careful of that, potentially. The final confrontation on this chapter is quite challenging. Now, at the very end, you're going to get a nice checkpoint. Now, this room has really good checkpoints, but the first group of enemies over here is only the first group. There's seems like there's about 3 waves. So having the maximum number of pilas on this would definitely be advantageous for you. So if you do have to restart the chapter or anything like that, definitely bring 3 pilas into this room if you can manage it, because they're just gonna be very helpful, if not for the heavies to break their shield, just for some of the lesser enemies to expedite that, and get your executions and increase your damage boost as much as possible. So when you are working to get more damage, you're going to need to participate in the executions, and you're going to need, if you want to get the most bang for your buck, so to speak, and I hate to speak colloquially like that, but to get the most of a boost, you'll want to get the highest rank for your executions. What that means, of course, is to get the colors right and press them within fractions of seconds. So it's if you are used to a certain, like if you always have damage on or you always have health on, you will start to get used to the executions and memorize at least some of them. Some of these I do them with legendary ranks. Those are usually the ones that I see really commonly, so I know the inputs. But I don't think you can press the preempt the button. You can't spam it. There might be some tricky way to do it, but I'm not sure. So there's just quite a lot of these heavies over here, and the axe guys. So they're gonna be jumping at you, and you're gonna need to perfect deflect that. And as you can see, we're back down to base damage over here. But the checkpoint, I have to applaud it. It's very, very nice. And then at the end of this, another checkpoint. But that fight is very difficult. So 2 dual wielders. They're the same enemies that you fought earlier in the chapter. It doesn't matter that they have torches. The flames don't hurt you. It's just for effect. So just remember, the first 2 attacks, you deflect those, and then you perfect deflect to parry their 3rd attack, and then go in for your riposts, ideally the charge attacks. So that has been it for Chapter 4. I will see you in Chapter 5, and until then, please take care.